I always say Elvis, was generous in life because he gave a lot. And I don't want to be maudlin about it, but he actually gives it now because friends we meet all over the world, we become good friends with him and everything. And because of Elvis, we'd never meet.
No.
You all probably would not meet, your friends now.
No, but
It's wonderful.
No, but thank you. We're going.
You.
Yeah, you're welcome. But thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank
I
you.
have to thank you. For once.
Thank
Yeah, at least thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all. Yeah. Okay, can we stop now? I just want to say thank you. But anyway. We're going to talk about your time. I know you've done a ton of things. Den er meget høj. Lige den her, synes jeg er høj. Hvad hedder det? You have done a ton of things, but we are mainly going to talk about your movie with Elvis. But let's start. How did you get into? Jeg tror det er vi skal slå. How did you get into acting in the first place? Yeah.
Well, I came from a show business family. My mom was a dancer with the Ziegfeld Follies years ago, and my daddy went overseas with Bob Hope, entertained the troops, and his first wife, I don't know if you saw me 10 years ago, his first wife was Ginger Rogers, of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. She's not my mom, because I'd be dead now, because I'd be too old.
Yeah.
But that was his first wife, and then he met someone else, and he met my mother. And so that's the only thing I've ever done, really, as far as a career.
Yeah.
And, so I started studying in New York. I was in a play in New York on Broadway. Julie Harris was my sister, and there were about a bunch of people that were her siblings. And I was 4 years old. And I had a sister, but she was 4.5 years older than I was. And I remember I got a little smart mouth at 4, and I said to my sister, "You have to go to school. I get to go to the theater." My mother took a hairbrush. She was famous for that. In those days, you could do that and not be, arrested. And put me over knee and whacked me once on the rear end and said, "Don't you ever say anything like that. You're no better than anyone else. You're not any worse than anyone else. So behave." And so I that's how that's how I am. Everyone is if they're really bad, they go to an F. If they're really good, you know what I mean? You meet them, you give them a chance. It's like Stump said. You meet people, and that's the way I've been all my life. I never thought, I was special. Elvis, I think, thought the same thing, that he wasn't special, and that's what made him special, because he was special to us, right?
Yeah.
So then I went to school at Hollywood High with Mike Farrell, who was in MASH, and Linda Evans of Dynasty.
Yeah.
And Stephanie Powers, whose real name is Taffy Paul. And we used to joke and say Taffy Pull. And so she went to my baby shower, so she was a friend. And the Nelsons, Ricky and David Nelson, went to school with them. In those days, that's the people in Hollywood, kids went to Hollywood High. And so that's where I went. And then I started studying, dancing and acting and all that on the outside. And that's how I started on television at, I think, 17, doing a show called Day in Court, which was like a divorce court too, which you were a child of a divorce. And so that's how I started. And then my daddy had an agent, and I talked to him, and he took me on, and that's how I started. I've been in it all my life.
Yeah, well, this is nice. Yeah. So was it more TV shows to begin with, and then movies?
More TV shows. I did, first thing I really did was My Three Sons. Do you have My Three Sons here? No.
I heard about it, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I did that. I was a regular on ABC, and then I would do my own show called Margie on ABC Network for a year. I played a high school girl in the 20s, which I love the 20s. I wish I had been born then, but I wasn't. I'm pretty close to it though, I think, sometimes. Anyway, so I did that, and then I did before Elvis, I did a movie called Take Me She's Mine with Jimmy Stewart, and I played Sandra Dee's roommate, and she was, I think, having trouble with Bobby Darin at the time, because I remember she was chain smoking, and I thought, she was so cute, and here she was very nervous, but very sweet, and then I think the next thing, a lot of, Perry Mason, Wagon Train, Addams Family, a lot of American shows.
TV shows, yeah.
But then I got a call to be in the movie with Elvis.
And what did you think about when do you no? But let's roll back a little bit. When did you see Elvis the first time? And not meet him, but when did you?
Well, I was 15. I remember, or 16. I remember, and I heard Heartbreak Hotel for the first time, and I swooned. I said, "Oh, woohoo! someday." And I had a boyfriend who was from Czechoslovakia at the time, and we were my first love. We were supposed to get married, later on in high school. So we drove up to Santa Barbara, California, and we saw Love Me Tender for the first time. And I'm sitting there watching Elvis. And then I'm looking over at my guy. Which one would I want to be with? I didn't end up marrying either one. But it was my first, I was a teenager and I loved Elvis.
Mhm.
Never knowing a few years later I could work with him and become friends with him. I picked the right career, my life.
So how far in advance did you get the information you were going to be in the movie? Was it
Friday? I was in those days you had automatic. You had people that actually answered your phone, messenger, telephone messaging. So I called the phone and they said, "Call your agent." So I called my agent. He said, "You sitting down?" And I said, "Well, I will." And he said, "Elvis saw you on something, I don't know what it is." And he said, because he watched a lot of TV, and he said, "She might be right for Midge Riley in this movie we're making on Monday." And he said, "So what you have to do is go down," I lived in West Hollywood at the time, "is to go to MGM Studios, go to the wardrobe department, and try on the uniform, because you're playing a whack. And if it fits and everything, you got the part." I'm like, "Oh, you co-starring with," I said, "Oh, are you kidding me?" I mean, when I did Margie, I had to test for 2 months, like 200 girls and all. So I flew as quickly as I could, and I went to wardrobe, and it worked. Although, honestly, I was quite small on top. Maybe too much information. And tissue paper in there. Anyway.
even back then?
Even back, when you get older sometimes. So, that's what happened, and when I first met him, he had roses in the dressing room, and it said, "To Cynthia, love EP," and I went, "Oh, he's got a crush on me." No, he did that with all his leading ladies. So I went to meet him. The assistant director knocked at my door, and I went down the stairs, and I went like this. He said, "Honey, don't give me an old hand, give me a big old hug." And that's the way he was, and because I thought it was going to be a nervous wreck, and he made you feel so comfortable, and that's how I met him. I'm like, oh, he's more beautiful in person, than on the screen. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say to somebody who never saw him.
What? What?
I never, no, I'm teasing you, I'm just saying it's easy for you to be, say that. No, but I believe you.
Yeah, believe me.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
No, but so what next?
Well, we drove up to Big Bear. It was a short film, to shoot. They did that in those days, is films. And I sat in the back with Yvonne Craig and Pamela Austin. Yvonne and I became really good friends. I didn't see Pamela afterwards. No reason, I just didn't. But anyway, we shot up there for a week and then went back to MGM and shot on the stage. And he was such a professional. He knew your lines, his lines, and everyone else's lines. And usually if you do a show, the camera's here and it's over the shoulder, and actors here, the camera's here, and they have someone reading your line, to feed you your line. He was always there to do that. Always. So it was like heaven, and he was so playful. And I know they say he didn't like a lot of his movies. I didn't feel that at all. I mean, I didn't, it's, the star usually sets the tone of a film, and we always had a good time.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I'm gonna faint or croak right here, because I've been with Elvis and I knew he's gonna kiss me. I went, oh my God. And when we did the scene on the ground, because he sang to me, and he came real close. I'm thinking, oh my God, Elvis singing to me, and I'm getting paid for it, of all things. I I kind of messed it up so I could do it over and over again.
Yeah, of course.
I'm blonde, but I'm not stupid. I just, can we do that? He said, oh, baby, let's do it again. Oh. You stole my heart. Yeah, it's the truth. That's the truth.
So when people say that he was not a good actor, what do you think?
Well, he has to get the right project to show his talent. And of course, these movies made a lot of money for everyone. I mean, producer, the studio and everything. And he had it in him James Dean was his idol. It's an acting. And I have a James Dean story to tell you, but that was his favorite. And he could have done that. He had that brooding sense, quiet. And what he did was good. But they wanted the music of the girls, and the storyline was pretty much the same. He did have some good parts, movies that did show his acting talent, but he was much better than what the projects allow him to be.
Did he ever talk to you about Kissin Cousins, the movie? Would he say afterwards, "What a great movie," or would he say?
Well, I tell you, when we did the scene with the Jeep, which I had to drive, I could do a stick shift, thank God, because I was like, I'm going to run him over, because I come real close to him in the mountains. That was shot in Big Bear, and I thought, I'm going to kill Elvis. What do I do? So I did it, and I was fine. But when we shot that in Big Bear. It's a big, for Smoky Mountains. It was outside in California, outside. And you stop and the planes would go over and rain and stuff, so we'd have other conversations during it. And he said to me, Cynthia, and I said, yes, Elvis. He said, I don't know what I'm doing here making these films. And I said, what do you mean, Elvis? He said, well, I think I should be back driving a truck. And I thought, that's where his heart was, that's where his mind was, that's how he grew up. It never left him. And I thought, Elvis is saying he should be driving a truck, and he was so popular. And then he said, not to me, but just to me, but everyone else, he said, do you think fans will remember me when I'm gone? And I thought, what do I say to that? I said, well, of course they will, but who knew? This is our 63rd year we filmed it, so we have an anniversary this year, 60. We shot it in 63, and he was 28 and I was 23. So he was very humble and very playful, and he loved to do practical jokes. Do you know that about him? Read about that. He did one with me.
Okay, let's
You
get
hear that?
Yeah.
Like, I had to throw him. If you haven't seen it, but I had to throw him, and we practiced that. And on the screen it's like this, but we had to practice it. So I did, and we were away from everybody in a sound stage, and he said, let's try it. And I said, okay. I go like this, and he's like, I said, oh my God, I killed Elvis Presley. I'm gonna have to go to the witness protection. I'm gonna have to get out of here. Finally, about 2 minutes, I guess, seemed eternity, he said, I got you, my little speckled pup, and I have to put that in the film. And I said, oh, that wasn't very nice. He said, well, it didn't hurt you, did it? I said, no, but you scared the hell out of me, the heck out of me. So I said, okay. So now I'm thinking, how can I get back at him? He didn't like people getting back at him. So I thought, well, when I was 15, my dad knew some guys that were on the movie Giant. You heard of the Giant with Elizabeth Taylor?
Yeah.
James
Yeah,
Dean,
yeah, yeah.
Rock Hudson, big movie, and Warner Brothers. So he went over to see one of his friends, Chill Wills. So he goes over there, and the phone rings. It's my birthday, 15th. Hello? And my daddy was from Texas, so he said, this is Daddy. Oh, hi, Daddy. He said, someone wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So I get on the phone, I'm waiting, he goes, Cynthia? And I said, yes. He says, this is James Dean. He said, I just want to wish you happy birthday. How old are you? And I went, 15? He said, well, happy birthday. Gave it back to my dad, and then 2 weeks later, he was gone. He was killed in a car crash. So I told this story to Elvis, but the phone call lasted 30 seconds. I made it go 5-10 minutes. I stretched it out like I had this big conversation with James Dean. I said, I did something you didn't do. He says, what is that? I said, talk to James Dean. No, yeah. I said, I did. So I just stretched it out. What next? What next? Finally, he was going too far, and I said, no, it was 30 seconds. He said, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you." And I said, "Well, I had to get back at you somehow." Anyway, that was that James Dean story.
Wow. That's not the worst to have a happy birthday
Well,
call from, right?
he was really popular then for, at my age group at the time too. Natalie Wood, no, he was, well, that's another story, but, no, but I mean, he was with Natalie Wood, what is that, Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
But Elvis was, I think he's like all the guys. He was like a regular guy. He would talk with guys, whatever guys talk about, football, women, or whatever they talk about. But he would flirt with us, the females, and that's just a regular guy, and that's just the way he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't, anyone like, uppity.
Not at all.
No, not at all. You don't believe me?
Yeah, I do. I just want to make sure you're not pulling a leg on me.
No, I'm not pulling a leg. After all these years, he wouldn't have this popularity if people didn't feel something for him. Even in his music, I've had people say, "He saved my life." I said, "How?" He said, "Well, not completely, but they were despondent and they listened to his music and they lifted him." And I said, "Yeah, that's what he's doing." And the younger people get younger and younger, and I like that. Because his legacy lives on.
Sure, it's good. It's important. Let me ask you something. When I have never done a movie, so this is just something that I have read. That sometimes when people was done, when the whole crew was done with a movie, there was kind of a little after party or something. Was there an after party after Kissin Cousins?
Well, there probably was, but I probably didn't. They had outtakes, of course.
Yeah, no, but I mean, did everybody celebrate the movie was over and you had a glass of wine?
They moved on pretty quickly.
They did?
Yeah, because I don't know if he was doing Viva Las Vegas at the time, but it was pretty close to that.
Yeah.
But
did you keep anything from the movie that your wardrobe? You had to turn all that back
yeah,
in.
turn it back in.
Yeah, she got nothing.
No, I got in here, and the card I have, and not the roses anymore. But someone said a few years ago, some people in Florida, a fan club, made me a replica of the uniform I wore.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and the hat. Sometimes I wear it when I do shows, and the guy sings, Kissin Cousins to me, or Tender Feelings. I'll come out in it. And someone said, "Is that the original?" I said, "Honey, I can't get my left thigh in this, the original, this one. I mean, in the original, because I was, I had a waist then. I don't have a waist now, but I didn't keep anything. In those days, you didn't take pictures. You didn't really keep things. Now, everyone's got a camera.
Sure.
You know that we have the wig here, right?
I was gonna say you should have asked Elvis for the wig.
Oh, the wig? Do you really?
Yeah, we have the wig.
He hated that. He didn't want to.
Sorry, I'm going to take it out of the museum now.
He didn't want it. No, he didn't want it. Because he was the dark hair,
Mm-hmm.
and took him, to get him out of the room. Kind of a pull. Let's go. I don't like it. But they had to do it because you have to play two parts.
Yeah. How was that? Because when today you can do tons of things, and even in the 60s you could do tons of things, but was it weird? Did Elvis think it was weird that
I
he
don't
had
know
to?
either, but it was weird because they would take, especially in the dance at the end, they would shoot Yvonne and Elvis and myself, and then they would splice it together. Now it's so sophisticated, they can digital things.
Yeah.
And like this, you can tell sometimes it's Lance Legault, but yeah, you can tell that. But when we're faced, and then the haystack, at the end, we had to do the haystack kiss. And there was Elvis and myself, and then Yvonne and Elvis. So that was the real thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he kissed really good, ladies.
See, they were waiting for that. They were saying, "Okay, we're not leaving the room before you tell how he was."
And he smelled like Brute. Cologne Brute.
I was gonna say earlier that you got to do something that almost every woman on this planet and some men wanted to do. Got to kiss with Elvis,
Yeah, he was a good kisser. Although my husband now, Steve, he's a good kisser too, my Englishman. He's a good kisser, but and he's here, but Elvis isn't, so I can brag around Elvis.
So I want to mention something about Steve in a minute, but let's go back to Elvis singing to you. So he sang to you in that moment, then they overdubbed the music later. Is that how it worked?
he recorded first, and they play back with the big.
So they had speakers like this, and they played that song, and he lip synced to it.
But he sang because you want the vibrato. You want it to look like you're singing, so he would sing it. But he didn't really have to sound good. But of course he did. He just mouthed it, but he sang it. That's the way we did it. And we had to stop, every now and then because of something, because we were doing it outside.
Yeah. So her husband, Steve, lovely bloke. She has a book that she wrote about her whole career.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them what Steve says about your book.
He hasn't read it.
It's her husband. He hasn't read her book.
I said, you don't know me, because I've had things in there. It's a show business book, but Elvis is in it, of course. It's called Elvis Presley and Pepper. Thank you for saying that. And I wrote it, I don't know, 9 or 10 years ago with a Canadian friend of mine. We did it by email, and they came down to Vegas and all that. So it took us about 2 years. And I said, I did other things on location, nothing bad. Enough that, but my son's going to read it, so I want it to be decent, of course. And it was, and is. But I'll say something, because I didn't know that. I said, read my book.
And he says, I live with you. I don't need to read the book.
I know you, I live with you. And I said, we got a book somewhere, and he hasn't read it yet. He doesn't like to read. He said, I know you. So I said, well, you don't know this part. No. He said, but BS before Steve.
When you did the filming, would there be fans knowing that it was happening and showing up and in a hope to see a glance of?
Yeah, I had a lot of girlfriends that came in that
I needed to see you.
I didn't even know. Yeah.
I need to see you on that.
Well, yeah, and they're my school friends that really came, and I'm still friends with them that are left. We're still friends, and they were impressed, but not too, because they knew me too, as one of their student friends. So they were impressed, of course, to go on the set. But you can't have too many, all the time.
No.
They don't like that.
They got to meet Elvis because of you. You brought them to Elvis.
No work will be done if they keep, they're there all the time. But
no, it's interesting. I just want to know what happened when all this was going on.
You want to know what happened?
Yeah.
I don't talk about things.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
No. I know. That was not what I meant.
I know.
I'm a decent man. I just want to, just a little, that has nothing to do with anything, and still, could you talk to Gita, right? Could you just talk to Gita when you're here? Because,
why?
But you're acting, and you get money for it.
Yeah.
She's acting all the time.
You should pay her. You should pay her.
Is that what it is?
That's how it works.
No, okay. I just wanted to tease her sitting over there. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Anyway, after the movie, so.
Well, the thing is that, and here's my motto: you don't put off today, because who knows about tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, Elvis, he said, will you come up and, I said, well, I guess with everybody I know, when I'm in Vegas, because you're in LA and it's not that far, and I said, of course I'll see your concerts, of course. And we talked by phone quite a bit, and I went on with my life and never did see him in concert. And I regret that, but I can't live with the regret.
No, of course
it is
not.
what it is. I thought, well, I'll see him later, never thinking he's going to be gone at 42. So I never did do that. But I had my chance with him when he
You
said
got your
to
own
me.
private concert
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
kind of private, but yeah. But I do wish that. But we did keep in touch. And I was in San Francisco with my second husband, and my son was 12. And we were visiting friends. We were in the car when I heard that he had died. And I don't think really people knew about it unless you lived in the house, mansion, and with him all the time. So it was a complete shock. I was in complete shock. And he was a sweet, sweet, dear man. Not a pushover, and he knew who he was. But when he got on stage, he knew who he was. But when he was off, I think he wanted to be. Kind of fame killed him almost, really, because to take a country boy and have all that. It's so difficult, I would imagine.
Yeah.
The thing he had. I don't know how it would happen today if he were alive, with all the paparazzi and the social media. And I think if he were alive today, he'd be, to me, I'd see him doing like a Clint Eastwood movies, you know, the elderly statesman. He
Mhm.
still did movies and gospel. That's really
That's
all I see him
amazing.
doing, yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll never know,
No,
right?
no,
I won't know
But-
till we get up there, so.
no. Okay, Rick, do you have
any
something that
questions?
I have overlooked?
I don't think so.
I have one more last story, go ahead,
Yeah,
about my son.
yeah, do that.
No, you have something?
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's still working. Can you hear me out there?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cynthia's also still a working actress,
Mhm.
right? What was the movie, Miss Congeniality?
Oh, Miss Congeniality.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's still a working actress. How
Well,
cool is that,
After
right?
that, yeah, I don't, do much, maybe a little print.
I'm her agent. She's
Print,
still
yeah,
working.
print and commercials and they, nothing. But yeah, I hadn't done anything for a long time. And I have a good friend named Beverly Washburn, who was an Old Yeller. She was a little girl in Old Yeller. She's like a sister to me. That's another story with Steve, because we get on the phone and say, she's picking me up to the grocery store and she'll say something, and we're on the phone for 20 minutes. Steve says, go, women do that. They talk about, well, I think I'll have this. He said, just go and get your bloody tomatoes that you're getting or something. So he would always joke with her, and she did tons of stuff. You look her up, she's like this in credits. But she's so sweet, and we had to audition for like 4 lines or something in Vegas at Venetian. And of course I was nervous, she was nervous, because we hadn't done anything in a long time. And I got to have a conversation. When I went to my dressing room, they call you in, and I went in, and the director was sitting there. There was Sandra Bullock and someone else. And they said, okay, now we're gonna run through the scene. I only had 2 or 3 lines. It wasn't, but I did get credit. So I said, okay, so what we're doing, we're coming out of a bookstore in the scene. She's coming through French doors, and I bought her book, and I want her to sign it. And she's in a hurry. It's towards the middle of the movie. And I just say to her, Miss Hart, Gracie Hart, I think she played, this is the Miss Congeniality too. I said, would you sign? And before I said it, she says, no. She said, I don't sign. I said, well, are you still saying Prince William? She says, no, I don't like castles. And she runs off. So I'm thinking, okay, please, dear God, don't let me say Prince William, Prince Charles. Are you still saying Prince Charles? She was a producer. And here's this big screen thing, and I screw it up. Well, I didn't screw it up. But I went to meet her, and they say, come on, we're gonna meet Sandra and sit down, we'll just run this thing real fast. I said, okay. Cynthia, you start, you have the first couple lines. I said, okay. I went blank. And I'm standing there, and I said, I had worked before she was even born, and I could not remember my line. It just went out, and you could see it in someone's face when they go blank. Mm-hmm. And he said, I said, no, I'm fine. He said, well, sit down and talk for a little bit, and then we'll go through it. And I did, and that was okay. And I never did screw up. Thank God. And she was sweet. She was beautiful, really. She was going with Jesse James.
At the time, yeah.
And she was on the phone with him.
Okay, wow.
Let's go back to the movie with Elvis again. Was there a premiere for that movie? And did you attend it? I know some of them they did and some they did not.
I think if it was on the coast, like Santa Barbara, there's a place called Oxnard up the coast. It wasn't like a big premiere at all, but it's funny if you see yourself on the screen, you say, oh, I could do that better. And I see it sometimes, I think, what a goofball. Me, I'm talking about me. And say, I could only, you grow, hopefully, and you say, I can do that better. What does that look, And because when he's singing to me, I'm giving this stupid look, like, get away. I'm thinking, I want to go forward, but that wasn't the story, of course. And it's just weird seeing yourself like that. And anything else one has done. We have an old station here in the States that show old television shows. All, the old ones, and 50s, Believe It to Beaver and all that. And once in a while my shows were on, and I'm thinking, who is that person? And that's me, I'm 21 years old, 19, it's just strange.
You ever flip in channels and bump into yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to myself. It's just strange. You say, I can do that better now, please, but it's done. It's done, yeah. Anyway, I did a U.S. Steel Hour, which is a live show in 1961, live, it's like a play, the commercial's on, you run to your, and with Martin Sheen and George Siegel and Tommy Sands. You remember Tommy Sands?
Yeah.
He was married to, at the time he was married to Nancy Sinatra. And we rehearsed it for 6 weeks in New York, and then, okay, now we're shooting it. And it's like boom, boom, and I thought, if I can do this, I can do anything. The strange thing is that the woman who played his mother, Tommy Sands' mother, was Glenda Farrell, who played Elvis's mother in Kissin Cousins. So my book is like a thread. I mean, Elvis is through it the whole way, in some way. But we never talked about that. We never said, we were on the U.S. Steel Hour together. We didn't even know it. And it was live television. So if you made a mistake, it just keeps going, which is crazy. I can do it now. I can't remember, things.
What an exciting life, though, and being on all those movie sets and knowing all those different
Jimmy Stewart,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The nicest person I met, one of the nicest, was Vincent Price.
Oh, nice.
I did a Jimmy Stewart show with him, and he was so sweet, and he was erudite, is that the word? He's artist and art and connoisseur of food, and he was just the sweetest man, and he always played these crazy, scary things.
I have a crazy James Stewart.
Do you?
Yeah.
I have.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay, so it's in '93. I read an article in a Danish weekly magazine. It's called Billedbladet, and there was an article about a guy who he was traveling through America, and when he came to Los Angeles area, he wanted so bad to meet Jimmy Stewart. And so he drove to his house, rang the doorbell, and out came Jimmy Stewart. Okay, so as I read that, I was going to leave 2 months after, and I thought, I want to do the same.
Oh my
I want
God.
to meet James Stewart, right? He's a huge actor. And we drove to his house with two guys, drove to his house, rang the doorbell, and out came the maid. And she said, "Oh, we told the story. We're from Denmark. Can we meet?" We thought that was not something everybody could do.
Yeah,
He was like the main attraction, And she said, "Oh, I'm really sorry. You just missed him. He just went out with his wife to do some grocery shopping." And I thought, can't be. And we went out to the car, and while we were sitting in the car, his car drove in the driveway next to the house. So we ran out and said, "Hey." So we met him, but we didn't meet him. He didn't come up to us, but he stand on the other side of his fence and talk to us and say, "Are you from Denmark?" I talked to Jimmy Stewart.
You did more than a lot of people because you had a personal conversation with
Yeah,
him.
but it was not long, but it was long enough for me to say thank you for all the movies and all that. So, but you can't do that anymore. There's
I guess not.
big fences and
guards
crazy,
and everything.
Tasers.
yeah. But just to get back to the movie, what about the famous or infamous Memphis Mafia? Was the
They were there a lot, and I didn't have anything really much to do with them. I mean, but the strange thing is that years ago, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago in Vegas, Charlie Hodge and his wife were there, and we went to see an ETA, Elvis Tribute Arts, at the Westgate, which was the International, right? And with some other people. And his wife told me, now this is years later, said, he said, "I had the biggest crush on you in Kissin Cousins." He said, "I wanted so much to ask you out." And I said, "Well, I was married, And he said, "Well, I was going to do that." And his wife said, "Isn't that sweet?" I said, "Oh, that's so sweet." And she said, "Do you want to be his date today for this show?" And I went, "Is that okay?" She said, "Yeah." So I was his, took his arm and had little conversations with him. She said, "Have at it. It's so sweet." Because he loved you. He loved you.
Did he put a scarf on you?
No. No, he didn't kiss on the cheek. He was so sweet. Of course, not too long after that he passed, but it was so sweet. And I didn't know that. I didn't hang out with the guys. I knew Joe later on, and I know Sam, of course. I know Dick Rowe. I didn't know Dick Rowe, years later, because they were in Vegas too at the time. Anyway, it was it's a part of history, and we were fortunate enough to be in it.
Yeah.
Because it's Elvis. You can be in a restaurant, and my husband says, "You're probably the only one in this whole room that knew Elvis. I said, damn, that's strange, you know. Not because of me, but because of Elvis. He had that power. And I have, if you want to end it, I got one short story.
Yeah, I do.
You want to end it?
No, I have
But does
another.
have any questions? Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody have a question?
No.
But,
So we had a
Oh.
table for Cynthia. I know many of you, there's a question back there.
yeah, let's get it.
Go ahead.
Did you visit Elvis on Graceland?
Did you visit Elvis at Graceland? Did you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't, honey. I never saw him personally after that, after we shot, because I said I'd go up to Vegas, and I had a little boy, and I was, you know, married, and I just didn't do it. And I'm thinking I'll see him sometime, you know, but I never did that. Of course, you regret things, but you can't do that. You can't regret. They say you regret more what you didn't do in life than what you did.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, it's true. I think. You know?
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Do you know what happened to outtakes from movies? Because I never seen any outtakes with Elvis from a movie. Was they all
Well, they usually do. I know with my TV show they did, but not, I never saw them go, you know, after they call it, it's a wrap, and you go and you watch it. I'm sure that maybe they did have it. I don't know, but I remember I did, and it was crazy. Because you do so many crazy things when you're shooting, you don't realize that, and then they keep it.
Yeah.
I did something really bad.
You did?
Well, I did a show called Margie, and I played a high school girl in the 20s. It was from the movie My Three Sons. It was Margie with Gene Crane. And I was 20 playing 16. And I remember, and I was married, and so in the scene, I'm an innocent girl in high school in the television show. It's a comedy with the old music, you know, Razzmatazz and the Flappers, which I just love. And I got to sing. did make a record or two, and with the 20th Century Fox Orchestra, which is like, oh my God, Lionel Newman. Oh my God, it was wonderful. But so I'm coming down the stairs in the scene, and I don't swear. I really hardly swear at all.
I got her to swear once.
Well, did you?
Yeah. When we went to breakfast, and I heard you sign the,
Oh,
and you cursed at me.
well, you told me to.
I did.
I wouldn't do it normally. I mean, I just don't do it. That's not my way. But so I'm walking down the stairs, and this, you know, and there's some little kids. In those days, I smoked. I don't smoke now, and I never smoked on set because we had little, you know, we catered towards 10-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, and some guys too, and so we had little girl fans, and I'm walking down the stairs, and I tripped, and I said, oh, S-H-I-T, loud, and the camera was rolling. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I was so embarrassed. No, probably nothing, but I was so embarrassed, and it just came out. And here I was supposed to be, you know, goody two-shoes, and the kids were like bug-eyed, went, Margie swore. And that's it. I tell you a Cary Grant story, which I did an extra part when I first started in a movie they showed called Room for One More. Sometimes they show it with Cary Grant and his wife, Betsy Drake. And I remember I played an orphan, and there were I had no lines. It was the back of my head. And I remember that I heard Cary Grant go into his dressing room, and he said, well, what the hell? And I went, oh, Cary Grant swore. You know, terrible that was. To a 12-year-old in those days, you know, it was crazy. But I didn't see any outtakes from.
Kissin Cousins.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any.
Did they end up in the trash, or did they throw it away, or?
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah.
You know, like they put it out on videos and stuff, and YouTube. I've never seen it. It would be fun to see. Those are the best parts.
Yeah.
Do you think they kept it, or do you think
I
they
don't
threw
know.
it
They keep
out?
everything. They have, you know, files. And
Yeah.
They keep everything. I would think, and that would be fun because you know, I'm sure they cracked up a lot. I know you did that. And then if you can't get a word out, then it gets worse. Then you get the giggles, and then you get worse, and then it gets worse, and then it's everybody settle down. Let's do it again, and that's what happens. But I'm sure they must have, because they did that in those days. But I have never seen it. It would be fun to see it. And that's MGM. Yes.
Did Elvis ever sing between takes?
Yeah, he was
Personally.
always singing around. Yeah. Yeah, he was.
What kind of songs will you be singing? The stuff that from the
Just
movie?
the usual.
Yeah.
Well, just singing, and I'm humming and everything. Like I said, he was in a good mood. And they say, he hated his movies, some of them, not all of them. And I didn't see that, thank goodness, because that would have been disheartening. But he was just always in a good mood. I saw that. Now, I don't know about, when he went home and stuff. So, I don't know about that.
No, okay. Any other questions? Okay, let me ask you this, after all these years, are you surprised that there's still something going on like in Denmark?
Yeah, I think so. And it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would be surprised, because I think he saw himself, I'm just a singer, I'm a good singer and I entertain, but this, and they don't do it for anyone else. They'll have the Rat Pack in Vegas or a place, they don't have it. Like, we love Elvis, and we come together, and he brought us together, really, and I think he'd be completely shocked. Yeah, 100. But when he said that, when fans will remember me, I didn't say yes, and I didn't mean it. I meant they would, but like this,
Like crazy.
it's amazing. It's amazing what you do keeps everything going.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
I know you do, or I think I know you do, I may be wrong here, but you do like movie festivals. What do you call it in a
Comic-Con,
Comic-Con?
like a signing event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
celebrity signing or whatever.
Yeah. Do you then have stuff that is not connected with Elvis? Yeah.
I had an Adams family, and someone bought a picture,
Yeah.
and I just have it to show, but this isn't Elvis. But when you do a general, I did one in West Virginia, and it was a general one. I'm doing one, they do a thing called the Hollywood Show, which they have 90 celebrities. I mean, from Mickey Rooney, Val Kilmer, people from Greece, to, you won't get Brad Pitt there, but you're gonna get a lot of interesting people. They do it 3 or 4 times a year, and I do that, so about every 2 years. And it's fun, because I'm a fan of people, and you'd be surprised some of the stories. Yvonne was sitting with somebody, I won't say the name, Yvonne Craig, you know who she is? It happened in World's Fair, Kissin Cousins, the brunette. She was sitting with this old-time actress, I wanna say, who had a TV series, very famous in the States. And this is true, and the people, fans, you're nice to them, because if it weren't for them, you wouldn't be there. And they don't have to buy anything, they can say hi, and you talk. It's a big room, huge, they have 90 celebrities on the tables. So he says, he's standing there talking for about 20 minutes, and she's talking. Finally, the lady says, you're boring me, move along. And Yvonne went, oh my God. And the guy went, oh, okay. And the stories you could tell, Beverly had this thing where this girl bought 20 pictures. She's signing them, and she's paying, I think, $20. She's come out, because they're collectors, and the girl says, are you in any of these? After she had signed these pictures, she wanted to know if Beverly was in them. I mean, but it works both ways. I've seen, I won't mention names, celebrities that are really rude to people, like, you're bothering me.
Yeah.
Well, then stay home.
Yeah, true.
Stay home.
True. Okay. Any last?
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Again.
In your opinion, can you name the most famous actor besides Elvis that you've played? up
Jimmy
against?
Stewart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart. There's a story in my book about him, but you'd have to get the book.
You didn't bring any books.
I didn't read any books this time because they were heavy, and honestly, I'm afraid when I carry a few things with me so that I can't, my personal stuff that I can't lose, but I'm afraid of bringing so many books that go in, checked in, and if it's lost, I'm done with, and I like to have them with me,
And they're
but I
heavy.
can't carry, they're heavy. But, if you ever buy it on Amazon, then, if you see me, of course I'll sign it, and I usually carry them in the States sometimes, but I don't carry that many. Like LA, I can take a car and take as many as I can,
Listen, I have one, it's about that thick too, so
Yes,
it's
340
worth getting.
pages.
There's tons of stories in it. It's a paperback, but it's about that thick, so it's worth grabbing if you go to Amazon.
Debbie Reynolds?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you if you were gonna tell the Debbie Reynolds story.
Should I?
Yes, do it.
Okay. I met her only because of my daddy. You know, I met a lot of people, Lucille, well, because of him. And I met her because she was married to Harry Carl, the shoe magnate, and Maddie knew him. Anyway, so years go by, and I was in her thing called the Thalians, which is a celebrity show business charity, and I got to be in that with her, not with her, but be one of the members. And she would come to Vegas, and I would try to see her. So this one time I was with Melissa Grove, and my husband and Dick were having a drink at the bar. I said, you know, I know Debbie, kind of, you know, but Debbie Reynolds, and she's coming out. I want to give her a piece of paper and say you should call me, you know, so we could chat, because I've chatted before with her. So she said, okay, so we did, and she came out, and I said, Miss Reynolds, and she said, oh yeah, she said, I didn't know she was just pulling my leg. Yeah, I know who you are, you know. And so I gave her my phone number and stuff, and I think it was New Year's Eve or something. I'm home, and with Steve and his son that we helped raise at the time. Phone rings, and I think Steve picked it up. And he said, hello? I said, this is Debbie Reynolds. And he goes, yeah, sure. Who is this? She says, no, really, this is Debbie Reynolds. Can I speak to Cynthia? And he goes, okay. He goes, it's Debbie Reynolds. So she played Tammy, you know her movie Tammy? An innocent little girl, and I played Margie, kind of an innocent little girl. So I go into the bathroom downstairs, put the seat down, and talk to her, because it's quiet there. So we're talking, just, I went, oh my God, what do I say? So we had a little visit, and she said, you know, Carrie and she was kind of bad-mouthing Eddie Fisher. And I said, well, as ex-husbands, ex-wives can be a pain in the patoot. So she says, yeah. She says, you know, I got that cleared. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, Carrie and I were driving, Carrie Fisher, we were driving down Sunset, and Carrie said, you know, Mom, you need to say this, because it's a cathartic thing. It'll release all the tension you have with it. And I went, what's that? I'm not going to say the word.
You can do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, well, what is it? And I think Steve was at the door like this with the door shut. And she said, well, what'd you say? She said, we were going down Sunset. She said, Mom, you got to say this 20 times. He's an a-hole. He's an asshole. He's an. And I said, do you want me? She says, I want you to do that. I said, I can't. You have to do that. So we're the two of us for about 5 minutes. He's an asshole. He's an asshole. He's an asshole. And I said, the picture of that, if someone knew that, with little Tammy, when she played Tammy, you know, da 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 da, and Margie, and here we were swearing. That's not that real swear bad, but it was just it felt better. I said, you know, you're right. And a couple of times I went backstage with her to see her when she was in Vegas towards the end, and she was very sweet. And that was my little swear. It's the last chapter says Steve, because he's proud of that. He said, I got to talk to Debbie Reynolds. She was a wonderful lady. She was wonderful.
So, I love that story. I would imagine Steve on the outside of the door thinking, is she talking about me? You're in the bathroom. He's an asshole!
Yeah, because she said, get it out. No, yeah. And I said, no, it was someone else.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. I felt good after that.
Good.
Cathartic.
Okay, so we had a table for Cynthia set up over there, and we moved it because Henrik has a poster from Kissin Cousins on the wall. Cynthia's name is on it, and there's a drawing of her on it. So when you go over there, I know many of you have already been to the table, but if you go over there to look at her 8x10s and stuff, and you get a picture with her, make sure you get the poster behind her, because it's from the movie. That's why we put the table over there. So,
Is that it? Two things. One thing, I did a show with my co-writer in Toronto. He plays backup for the guys, ETAs, and he's a comedian, clean comedian like Red Skelton. This is a funny story. You'll appreciate this. Reminds me of this. And we did they rented this theater in Alliston in Toronto, near Toronto, a small place. But they said, we're going to have Cynthia here, and her movie's playing. I went, oh, that's cool. So they got the publicity, and we're sitting. Now we know each other. His name is Victor Hansen. We know each other like we do, and he knows what to ask me, and I know how. So we're talking, and he says, so he's telling me about. I was telling them about when I was young, like we were just now. And then he says to me with a clear face, he says, so when did you start making adult films? Exactly. I said, what? He said, what? Oh, no, I mean, as an adult, you know, for a child.
Yeah, right.
So I was waiting for something like this, adult, and of course the audience what? And then they laughed and went, what did you say? And then he said, did I say that? I said, yes, you did.
You did something at the airport yesterday. We're standing at the airport, and Rachel had her big suitcase there, and I turned around, I look, and it's open, and she's pulling stuff out of it. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you overweight?" And Cynthia looked at me like, I said, "No, the bag is the bag overweight."
At this point,
She's overweight.
no, you say things and it doesn't meet the connotation of done something else, right?
Her face,
Obviously.
I said, "Are you overweight?"
Well, you have to laugh at stuff like that. you
Yeah.
know?
By the way, the bag was.
I have another one like that.
She was just looking for something.
Yeah, Brian yesterday, when you guys came, and he said, we have food for you. We already have food for you. And he said, it's pre-cooked.
Oh, yeah.
He says what he meant was it's already ready. You know, he meant it's already done, but he says like it was pre-cooked, like it was made 3 days ago, and now we're going to, you know, when it's good enough for the staff, it's good enough for you guys. So you got pre-cooked. I'm just kidding, Brian. That's good.
That's how you get it, you know?
Yeah.
You mean something else and it said something else.
Yeah,
you know?
it's already done. It's pre-cooked.
Yeah. Well, I have one last story now.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, and it's a true story, obviously, but my son lived in LA, he's now in another state, and I was in Vegas, and he used to go to this coffee house and visit his friends, just like on Friends, if you have Friends, you know, that TV show. And they were talking, and Michael, my son, is quite private. He never doesn't ask too much about me, you know, my life when I was younger. Anyway, so he's private about himself. So he says to me, "Mom," I said, "Yeah, honey." He said, "What?" And he said, "I was sitting with my friends at the new coffee house." I said, "Yeah, I know which one." And he said, and they were wondering, they said, "You know, your mom worked with Elvis." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, did you ever wonder," he said, "you have blue eyes and full lips," which I don't have either one. And he said, "Did you ever wonder if your mother, if you could be," he goes, "Wow, you should ask her." So I went, oh, so he calls me. He said, "Mom," I said, "What?" He said, told me that story. He said, "I want to ask you something." I said, "What is that?" He said, "Did you have a thing with Elvis, and am I his son?" I went, "What?" So I said, "Honey," I said, No, you're not." He goes, "Oh, darn it." He said, "It would have been great. It would have been fun. And besides, Dad wouldn't mind." I think Dad wouldn't mind. And it's a true story. And I told him that story. I thought he was going to kill me. He goes, "That's okay. You know, that's good." It's true. And that's the power of Elvis, right?
Yeah,
Dad
that
would
is the
mind.
power
Oh,
of
sure.
Elvis.